Welcome into the studios of ESPN News. I'm Bram Weinstein. Top Stories begins with the quest for a World Cup title. Would they or wouldn't they? Bob Bradley had a tough choice to make. Keep Charlie Davies on the U.S. roster or prepare for the World Cup without him.
Josie Altidore gives the USA the lead. The USA leads by 2. He shoots and scores. That'll do it.
A wild turn of events saw the U.S. soccer team go from disappointment in South Africa to world shockers. That Confederations Cup performance led many to believe this American squad might be a player in next month's World Cup. An array of injuries, though, tempered those expectations, and it's led to some very difficult decisions. 30 days away from play in the World Cup, the final 30 have been selected for the American roster. It is the preliminary roster, and we're honored to bring you that announcement exclusively here on ESPN News. No surprise here, Tim Howard is the American answer in net. He made 8 saves against the then world #1 Spanish team in a stirring semifinal win in last summer's Confederations Cup. Here is a look at the goaltenders that are on the list for the 30-man roster, of course, headed by Tim Howard. There's Brad Guzan there. He plays for an English team, all 3 in the English Premier League. Oguchi Onyewu was one of the poorly timed injured players that Bob Bradley has had to deal with over the past few months. He tore his patella tendon in a World Cup qualifier last October, and he has yet to play for the Italian club team AC Milan as he continues his recovery, but he is on the 30-man roster and likely to make the final 23 as they head towards South Africa. Carlos Bocanegra, captain at one point of the United States team, Lee heads that list as well. There's Onyewu, Jay Demerit there, Jonathan Bornstein, nice young player for the United States as well. As for the midfielders, it's Landon Donovan, who has become the face of American soccer. This will be his 3rd World Cup appearance for the MLS star, plays over in England as well. In October, his free kick goal was the difference in a 3-2 victory over Honduras, and that clinched the American spot in South Africa. And so here's what the midfielders look like. There's DeMarcus Beasley at the top of that list. Ricardo Clark. Clint Dempsey has made his name for himself on this group as well. And there is Landon Donovan, star of the LA Galaxy of the MLS. The future of American soccer rests on the feet of 20-year-old striker Josie Altidore. His first call-up to the U.S. team came days after his 18th birthday. That was back in 2007. He became the youngest American to post a hat trick in an international match. He scored 3 on Trinidad and Tobago in April of 2009. And so here is a look at the preliminary forwards for the 2010 FIFA World Cup for the United States. Robbie Findlay there, Brian Ching, and of course, Josie Altidore. ESPN soccer analyst Alan Hopkins joins us now. The name we were watching today that was not read was Charlie Davies. He was in a car accident last fall. What's your reaction to him not being on this final 30?
Not a big surprise when you consider the long road to recovery that Charlie Davies has been on since suffering that car accident some 6 months ago. And Bob Bradley pretty much had intimated, I think, a couple of weeks ago when he said that Davies' chances were very long because he drew a line in the sand in terms of being fit enough to rehabilitate and to hop into a late season training, as opposed to the difference of being ready for a World Cup type camp where you have to get ready, of course, for the World Cup finals. And when you look at that forward list, you have to think the play of Eddie Johnson for his Greek club the last couple of weeks, 3 goals in the Greek playoffs, was maybe the last man in at the expense of Davies. But I know Bob Bradley, for some of those fringe players that did not make it, picked up the phone and called him and explained his rationale. But in the end, the decision simply is based on who can contribute to this World Cup roster. And I know Davies is devastated, but he should keep his head high and realize that his dream for playing the World Cup is not over because this door is slammed this time around in 2010.
ESPN's Alan Hopkins on the 30-man preliminary World Cup roster for the United States. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
And let's bring in the head coach of the American team now, Bob Bradley. He joins us now. And let's start with Charlie Davies. Bob, how difficult a decision was that on him?
Bram, that's been incredibly difficult. Charlie has shown so much heart in his work to get back from his injuries. We've monitored all his workouts. We've had people there. We've observed him. And he remained part of the consideration right up until yesterday. In the end of it, we also had information from his club whereby he hadn't been given full medical clearance and therefore was not given a full release to join the camp. And so when we put that together with everything, we just felt that right now, Charlie, it's in his best interest to continue his rehab and continue so that he can get back to the level that he was playing last year before the accident.
All right, tough blow, but he will be part of American soccer for years to come. How about Oguchi Onyewu's injury that's kept him out of action in Europe? What are your expectations for his availability to be next month?
We're very, very pleased with his progress. Milan named a 23-man group to be considered for the final squad for their game against Genoa on the weekend. Gooch was in the 23, didn't make the 18, but everything that we've gotten from Milan is that he's in strong consideration now for the squad. He feels great in terms of his progress in the last few weeks, and we look forward to getting him going in camp.
Bob, you're 1 month from the World Cup. What are your emotions now leading into this event next month in South Africa?
We're tremendously excited. Obviously, when we put this roster together, a lot has gone into it, and we always understand and respect the players out there that have all contributed along the way, and so it's never easy getting to a 30. But having said that, over the last 3.5 years, we've had great experience as a team. I think we've grown and improved, and we look forward to getting to South Africa and putting it all on the field.
Let's welcome back in ESPN's Alan Hopkins. You have a question for Coach Bradley? Go ahead, Alan.
I do. Coach Bradley, when you look at the forward line, and we talked about Charlie Davies and that difficult decision, what about Eddie Johnson? I know form was a big factor for some of those players in the back end of the roster, but what was the decision process like in terms of bringing in Eddie Johnson into the World Cup camp?
Again, I think you mentioned earlier that Eddie has played well, particularly of late, has scored some important goals for his club. We have followed, his work at Aris. We've been able to have people there who have watched him, guys from our staff, as we have put our scouting together. And we hope now that as we get into the camp that some of the good things he's been able to do at Aris will show up for us.
All right, we thank you both for your time today. ESPN's Alan Hopkins and the United States coach Bob Bradley. We're 1 month away from the World Cup. Thank you, Bob. Good luck in South Africa.
Thank you.
And this is the event 2010 FIFA World Cup in South Africa. Coverage begins on June 11th through July 11th on ESPN.